I'm lost in darkness, searching for light. Every step forward feels like a fight. Shadows of doubt creep in my mind, but I refuse to surrender. I must find a way to rise above the pain, to overcome, to break the chains. My existence is a test of will. I won't be broken, I'll stand still. The weight of the world crushes me down. Fear and uncertainty all around. But I deep find inner strength to face the trials length by length. A way to rise above the pain, to overcome, to break the chains. My existence is a test of will. I won't be broken, I'll stand still. Through every storm, I'll find my way. Through every night, a brighter day. I'll rise from ashes, like a phoenix born. My spirit unbroken, my heart reborn. I've walked through fire and emerged scarred, but wiser, stronger, and unmarred. My existence is a test of will, of trials overcome, of a soul made bold. The way of the world's above the pain, to overcome, to break the chains. My existence is a test of will. I won't be broken, I'll stand still. Oh, made bold. Through every storm, I'll find my way. Through every night, a brighter day. I'll rise from ashes like a phoenix born. My spirit unbroken, my spirit unborn. Day to day, nothing changes. All I want is a moment to think clearly, but thoughts come unrelenting, consuming every waking moment. My mind binds me and I can't escape. I shout for help when no one hears me. One day I feel I'll just disappear. Lost in this chaos, I'm searching for peace.
Greetings! There. I was muted, y'all. Sorry about that. Greetings and salutations, everyone, and welcome to the Dirt Sheet Radio NXT post-show rewind for New Year's Eve. It is December the 31st, 2024, last show of the year. Y'all, I am Tyler, the Pro Wrestling Hipster, here with the little long-haired chihuahua, Mighty Molly Holly, and it's rude to yawn when people are talking, Molly. It's late for her, but she's going to stay up till midnight tonight. She's going to do it. We won't be here till midnight. The show will be done before midnight, but I'm here to break down tonight's New Year's Eve edition of NXT, which you'd think that this would have been the New Year's Evil episode. That would have made more sense by the name. Obviously, they wouldn't have done that because a fraction of the audience was here tonight to see tonight's broadcast. But before we can get into all the fun tonight we had on NXT, I have to give that ever important shout out to our partner on the web, comicbookclick.com. That is comicbookclick.com/Dirt Sheet Radio for all of your pop culture, comic book, professional wrestling needs, all in one convenient location. Molly, don't fall asleep. But check it out. Make it your homepage and look at it multiple times a day, just like we do. Not because we're legally obligated to do so, but because we love to do it. Now, guys, time to talk NXT. Molly is gonna hop over that way. But we're here to talk NXT tonight, guys. This is, I'm gonna call it a go home show of sorts. New Year's Evil next week is it's a weekly episode of NXT, but it's a big weekly episode of NXT. So this is go home-ish, go home light. Maybe like go to the neighbors, and not go. You guys, it's bad jokes when I'm left alone. Sorry, but I'm gonna run through the show from top to bottom tonight, or bottom to top, beginning to end, however you want to view that phrasing there. So the show opened tonight with Vic Joseph running down the show, which led immediately into our opening match, which was Kalani Jordan taking on Lola Vice, one of the advertised matches that they had this week. Fantastic match. Kalani continues to improve week after week. They're trying a little something different here with Kalani. They're, not having her going full heel, but trying to show a little more aggression, a little more, fury. They're walking a line though right now where it's getting close to just kind of coming across as like petulant. Which is not where you want to go with that. You don't want her to come, be bratty or whiny. If she's going to be angry and upset about things, give her legitimate reasons. But she did walk away with the win here tonight in 9 minutes and 10 seconds after Cora Jade caused a little bit of a distraction, which led to that pinning situation there. After Cora Jade jumped him with a kendo stick, just wailed on him until Stephanie Vacker ran down to make the save. Vacker was the unintended recipient of a backhand from Lola Vice, and this would lead to a little bit of an argument for them later tonight as well. But Lola immediately regretful that she backhanded Lola Vice, and looks like we're going to be getting maybe some sort of program here with Lola and Stephanie Vacker going forward, which, hey, that's not something I'm going to complain about. I think that they could definitely work a good few matches together. Not really sure who's necessarily the heel in that. Not that you need one, really. It can just be kind of a misunderstanding. The Three's Company rule of professional wrestling. It's a dated reference, but the show was built on constant misunderstandings that were later resolved, not with like violence in the ring, but through hilarity. Oh gosh. All right, so moving on from there, we had the first NXT year-end award that they gave out. This was for the match of the year. The recipient for the match of the year was the Josh Briggs versus Obafemi versus Dijak match for the North American title. It was a great match. It's something I wouldn't necessarily argue giving to a match of the year for NXT. Not necessarily sure if it's what I personally would have chosen. It's also interesting to have chosen a match where one of the people in the match is no longer in the company, in Dijak. So interesting choice in that. The looks like the other nominees here were Fraser and Axiom taking on Chase U, Roxanne Perez versus Thea Hale, and Kalani Jordan versus Sol Ruka. So Josh Briggs versus Obafemi versus Dijak is what was given the NXT Match of the Year award this year. And I mean, again, it was a fantastic match. No argument there. Just interesting that no Dijak.
What would you have went with, Tyler?
here's the thing: it's hard to make an argument against that in a knee jerk. Just based off of the things that they had in contention, I really liked that Kalani Jordan Sol Ruka match. It was very gymnasticy, but it was without question Sol Ruka's best match, and it was surprisingly good. Which I maybe gives it a little bit extra boost, but it's hard to argue against this. I just thought it was an odd decision considering Dijax was kind of shittily fired, not just fired, but kind of in like an underhanded way.
It's about that when I saw this was chosen for match of the year, I thought this said something to how I don't want to say how far it has fallen, but how different the NXT main event scene is now, where there is no there it's not full of like the work rate, matches. It's all
Oh,
the more sports entertainment, Ethan Page stuff,
it
Trick
is.
Williams.
It's a mixture of that and developmental acts. It really is it's different. It's not what the 2.0 reset was. It's definitely evolved out of that era into something else. But it is functionally something different than it used to be. The whole black and gold, that was really Triple H vindictively booking to be better than Vince, just to prove that he could do it. And he was right, and he did, and he does. Um, then the reset was Vince being vindictive to NXT. And now it's back to being like, developmental, and it's churning out a lot of women stars.
I missed the little fake Ring of Honor they had.
Stop it,
I
Mac.
I I really do. I know it wasn't sustainable, but because it didn't make sense. The disconnect was too large. I was like, man, this isn't doing any favors for
Yeah.
main roster development. But
No.
but I do miss
like
it.
I wonder, like, it had to have pissed off main roster to a degree. Had to have.
It was just, there was the idea that Triple H was bringing all these indie guys in and letting them be themselves on NXT, and then creating this idea of what the WWE is, and then when they get called up to the main roster, it's like, holy shit, I don't know what's going on here. Your name is Hideo Itami, and you you hit very softly. Get used to it.
People will complain. Don't hurt anybody. Oh goodness. But yeah, so Briggs, Oba, and Dijak there. Moving on from there, we had a little spotlight piece on Julia. I say this every time they do one of these. Fantastically produced. I love that they're letting these promos be done in whatever native tongue is spoken. It really helps just get that feeling and emotion and characterization through so much better and so much more clearly. Like with Stephanie Vackers and with Julia's here being in Japanese, just it's the right decision, and I love it, and I love that they're going with that decision. But from there, we had the next NXT year-end award. This was the moment of the year. A lot of good nominees in this. Carmelo Hayes turning on Trick. Wes Lee turning on MSK. Ethan Page winning the NXT Championship by falling into it. But the moment of the year winner, say his name and he appears, Joe Hendry was the recipient of the moment of the year for NXT, which again, logical. Joe Hendry made a massive splash in NXT and kind of was quietly tucked away, and one would wonder if that's because perhaps he's planned to be in the Royal Rumble come February, but that's purely speculation on my part. But Joe Hendry, the recipient. So pretty cool that they did that. Still, showing that partnership with TNA. They haven't been utilizing it super duper heavily as of late, but really glad to see Joe Hendry get a little TV time on NXT. Hopefully ahead of a Royal Rumble appearance coming up in February. From there, we went backstage where Cedric Alexander was being interviewed, and he was all full of piss and vinegar against Ethan Page. Understandably so. Ethan Page busted the jaw of his buddy Javon Evans, so he was out for some retribution here tonight against Ethan Page. And Ethan Page interrupted the interview time there, and this led to the two brawling in the backstage area, and then brawling out to the front of the house there into the ring. And they went ahead and had this match take place now. It was scheduled to be later tonight, but they had it happen now. And Ethan Page wins a pretty quick victory here, 4 minutes and 21 seconds, beating Cedric Alexander. But the big story is after the match, pulls him out of the ring, yanks a toolbox out from under the ring, puts Cedric's hand in, and slams and stomps that thing shut. Brutal. So I'm sure they're going to have him selling some sort of, some broken phalanges there. I love this. I love this brutal Ethan Page. I mean, it's he's a heel, but he was kind of shit-heeled heel. He was a little chicken shit. He was a great wrestler, but they had him kind of play that little coward, kind of beg off type of heel. This is brutal. This is violent. This was much less violent than the Javon Evans jaw busting spot with the blood spatter and all that. I wonder if anybody at the CW was not like super duper happy with that, but still violent nonetheless, just not gory violent. But yeah, absolutely digging that. So from there, we went to the backstage area in the locker room where we had Tyson and Tyreek. We're talking with Hank and Tank about the disagreements they've been having over the last couple weeks. Sean Spears stepped in and tried to diffuse the situation. I presume he was going to invite all of them to sit under the information bush, trademark. But Wes Lee walked into the scene and told Sean that, Tyson and Tyreek didn't need his help. They've already got someone that's down to be their man tonight. And this would lead into some six-man tag action that we would have later tonight. But before then, we had a triple threat tag match. Gigi Dolan and Shotzi, with Tatum Paxley at their side, taking on Caden Carter and Katana Chance and the Metaphor, Lash Legend, and Jakara Jackson. This was great. The triple threat tag team rules sometimes get knocked around where it's like sometimes there'll be three people in the ring at once, sometimes it's two, but someone can tag in and out. There's a little bit of inconsistency there, but that's what we were going with here tonight. The match went just about 11 minutes and 20 seconds with Jakara Jackson and Lash Legend getting the win. I say this pretty much every time they pick up a win on NXT now. It makes sense considering how much time they spent on the main roster. And I know what you're saying. You're saying, Tyler, Caden Carter, and Katana Chance have also spent a lot of time on the main roster. And you're right, but they don't win there, and they haven't been featured quite as prominently as Lash and Jakara have been up there. So a nice win here for the Metaphor, continuing dominance anytime they show up down in the developmental brand. I'm sure that as the transfer portal opens, they'll be main roster bound. I would assume. After the match, Alba Fire and Isla Dawn showed up on the Titantron to cut a promo on the Metaphor. Sounds like next week or sometime in the new year, they will be squaring off with them in some tag action to determine contendership for the tag team championship. So looking forward to that. Always looking forward to that. I love NXT. If you like women's wrestling, you need to be watching NXT on a week-to-week basis. That's just how the facts roll out, guys. But you guys know that. You watch the show every week. I'm not telling you anything you don't already know. But moving on, in the backstage area, Lola Vice and Stephanie Vacker were arguing quite loudly with one another over the inadvertent backhand that she took. Kalani Jordan stepped in and, tried to kind of, bring a sense of peace to the situation, kind of compared to what was going on in the past weeks. And the argument just kept going on. And we're going to get Lola Vice and Stephanie Vacker coming up soon. So that's going to be Be fun. Looking forward to that. Cora Jade was watching from the shadows, as apparently she likes to do now. And Ava approached her and asked if she was interested in having a shot at Fallon Henley's North American Championship. And she said, of course she was. Ava said that, all right, well, then next week, Cora Jade, Kalani Jordan, Stephanie Vacker, and Lola Vice would be in a fatal four-way to determine the top contender. So, yeah. I understand why they do this. There's especially with the women. There are so many women on the NXT roster. Why they do this to determine contendership, but I really just kind of rather wish they could maybe determine this through like, hey, you've racked up a lot of wins, and let's give you a title shot for that reason, as opposed to always resorting to like multi-person matches or tournament type situations or scenarios. But hey, I'm not the booker, and I generally trust what Sean does. In HBK we trust. But this from there, another backstage area segment we had. Make sure I've got this in the right order here. Sorry, guys. See, joy of live radio. You can see me double check my notes here. But yes, all right. So yeah, so Lexus King last week won the Heritage Cup Championship via disqualification after William Regal clocked him with some brass knuckles. The knuckles were in the ring, and then Charlie Dempsey picked up the knuckles, and the ref called for the DQ. So Lexus King, Ava, William Regal, Charlie Dempsey were all backstage. And Ava was explaining to Lexus King that it's kind of a gray area regarding whether or not the Heritage Cup can actually change hands via disqualification. Lexus King was adamant that this was the referee's decision. And she said, yes, you're right. You're right. And I understand that. However, you can't really change hands this way. Next week, you and Charlie Dempsey will meet for the cup. It's going to be sudden death, so basically Heritage Cup rules, but sudden death, so it's a match. But so next week, Heritage Cup on the line. But the cup was given back to Dempsey, and oh goodness gracious, Lexus King was just crestfallen, y'all. He was just very upset here. And he just said to himself, I don't understand. I did everything right. Did it the right way. So who knows? This could lead to Lexus King sliding right back into his, nasty, evil, weirdly bearded persona. But who knows? He seemed very distraught. And understandably so. He had championship just yanked from his manicured, bearded hands. It's unfortunate, but next week we'll see what'll happen. I wonder if there was a bit of an outcry. A lot of folks were kind of pissy about the change happening on a DQ. Sorry, I just Kevin Dunned my camera there. A lot of people were pissy about that, so I wonder if they kind of heard that and decided to make the shift back. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens next week on New Year's Eve. All right. After that, we went into the next NXT year-end award. This was for the Tag Team of the Year. The nominees were Chase U, Lash Legend, Jakara Jackson, Frazium and Fraser and Axiom, Hank and Tank, and the winners, of course, I think obviously there was no other real choice here. Axiom and Nathan Fraser, as we love to call them here on the show, Fraxium, are the Tag Team of the Year. And again, there's not an argument against this. They had a fantastic year. Circumstance put them together, and they just kept eking out these Tag Team Championship victories. And it's great. They are one of the best stories in NXT. It's if you talk about who had like the best title reign of 2024, it would come down between them and Obafemi with the North American Championship, and that's kind of a neck and neck discussion there. But Fraxium deservedly winning the Tag Team of the Year on NXT, and still a little friction there between the boys, but eventually we will get that feud. But hell, put it off as long as you can, because love them as champions, and God, them winning just by I'm not gonna say by hook or by crook. They're not doing it by any underhanded meaning. Skin of their teeth, kind of a thing. But they keep winning and love it, but deservedly, deservedly. After that, oh, sorry, I guess at the end of their little interview segment there, they were approached by OTM in a very threatening manner. OTM, the number one contenders for the tag team championship, and they said that they're coming for them in 2025. So I don't think OTM is going to beat them for the championship, though. I'm putting that out there. Although every I don't know, every time I say that Froxy was going to lose, they win. So maybe that's it. I don't know. Maybe I just stamped that Froxium will lose to OTM. Who knows? From there, we had Sol Ruka and Zarya watching on a monitor, and Sol said that I guess they personally wouldn't have to worry about winning the tag team award this year, maybe next year. Touching on the friction that they've been having because for some reason they've been put together as a team as of late, even though that makes little sense. But hey, it's kind of their acknowledgement of that. Right ahead of our next match, they showed a bunch of the signees to the WWE ID Independent Development Program there in the crowd. Yeah, John, I got to give credit where credit's due. We were discussing this in our little pre-show meeting we had, and he pointed out that it was maybe a bit cruel because all these folks probably got phone calls saying, "Hey, we're flying you out to NXT for New Year's Eve," and they were probably all like, "Oh my God, like we're all flying." Oh, we're gonna be in the crowd to be shown. There's not even like a battle royal or no. Okay, all right. So maybe a little, jerk there for him. Maybe not. Maybe they knew exactly what was going on. It's hard to say. But our next match we had tonight was Sol Ruka with Zarya taking on Izzy Dame 1-on-1. Solid action here. I was actually surprised this was as short as it was. It actually felt a little bit longer, not in a bad way. Match went just over 5 minutes. It was 5 minutes and 2 seconds. Izzy Dame picking up the win here tonight. It is worth noting that during the match, Sean Spears was watching from the crow's nest up there in the performance center. So again, just creepily keeping an eye on Izzy Dame. Again, I'm assuming that a invitation to sit under the information bush is forthcoming, but it's really hard to say. I'm going to say information bush as many times as I can. I feel like us saying Fraxium so much on this program helped contribute to that. I like to think so. Information Bush trademark is going to catch on, but so there was a bit of a miscommunication here between Zarya and Sol. Sol Ruka moonsaulted Zarya outside of the ring there, and Zarya doesn't appear to be very understanding about the miscommunication, or not miscommunication, but misfire, and that's I get it. Just have a match, have a program. I don't really understand why they're using Zarya the way they have so far, where they've kind of put her in these multi-woman segments backstage. I don't know her personality, but just her appearance and aura to me screams like loner. Like she wouldn't be hanging out with a bunch of people. I mean, she always kind of looked out of place in those segments and like the big like 10 woman tag they had her in. But so just get her into a singles program, just get to a match. I think they'd have a fantastic match. The speed and agility of Sol Ruka and just the raw power of Zarya I think would make for a good mix of styles. So I look forward to that. So let's just get to it now. We don't have to slow burn absolutely everything, Sean. Not everything. um, All right, so moving forward from there. Yeah. Next week that NXT title match, triple threat, going to be it's gonna be good. Next week's gonna be awesome. Just between the Raw premiere on Netflix and I'm a little biased, but New Year's Evil and NXT, it's just gonna be a couple like great nights for WWE programming. But so moving on through the show here. We had let's see, feel like I skipped a segment, but if I did, I apologize. It happens. But we had Hank and Tank were getting each other a little fired up, and they were looking for a third person to team with them tonight against Wesley, Tyson, and Tyreek. And they found Andre Chase hanging out backstage. Andre Chase looking like shit once again. No offense, Mr. Chase. But Andre sad, depressed, dejected, not tucking his shirt in. Again, no Chase U. But he agreed that he would team with Hank and Tank tonight. So, well, he didn't really quite flat out agree there, but he implied it. He looked more woefully into the camera, but you knew it was going to happen because this is his first time he's been on TV since the backstage segment where someone shouted, "Hey, Mr. Chase," as he was walking away. But it won't be the last we see of him tonight back here. But after that, we had the nominees for the Women's Wrestler of the Year, which were Kalani Jordan, Lola Vice, Jada Parker, and Roxanne Perez. And the winner of the NXT Women's Wrestler of the Year was Tuesday Night Roxy, Roxanne Perez. And Roxy cut a promo talking about how much she deserved it, and ran down some of her accolades through the year, and said that she would see Julia at New Year's Evil. Again, looking forward to that match. I don't know if Roxy walks out of New Year's Evil with the NXT Women's Championship. This could be the change, because I do think that it's time for Roxanne Perez. As much as I do not want her to leave NXT, this is the hell of being a big NXT fan, is you know they're going to leave eventually. You know, like a bird flying out of a nest. But it's time for her to be on the main roster. There's nothing really left for her to do in NXT. She's been, multi-time champion. She's played both a great face and a fantastic heel. It took a little time to get rolling on the heel persona, but she's done it. She's doing it so well. She's done down here. She's ready to roll on the main roster, and with the transfer portal opening up, I'm sure she's going to be main roster bound. I assume she'll be in the Royal Rumble again. She has been for the past 2 years. So putting her in again this year just makes more sense than anything else. But congratulations to Roxanne Perez, the NXT Women's Wrestler of the Year. I will say that, it's obviously there's probably a bit of storyline drive here for this. She did have an incredible year. On a personal standpoint, there's a big argument for Jada Parker, and I say this every week just about on this show. But Jada Parker's the real deal, guys. She's young. She's, still not completely ready to be like up on the main roster, but she has got every single box checked for what it takes to be a long-term main event act. Roxy's going to be moving up to the main roster, but big chance that Jada Parker is going to have this accolade being given to her this time next year. But our next match on the card, 6-man tag team action, Wesley, Tyreek, and Tyson taking on Hank and Tank with, of course, Andre Chase. Reluctantly making his way to the ring with purple striped pants, not the red, because he's not wearing Chase U colors right now. He's wearing Judgment Day colors. That's a little disconcerting. But he made his way out there, and solid match. Good time was being had by all. Chase was on fire, and he looked up and saw that the Chase U section was no longer there, and the spelling started, and he realized that Chase U was no more, and he walked over and he tagged out of the match and walked out of the ring. Andre Chase is too sad to wrestle. He's too sad to wrestle, which is a horrible state of affairs. And of course, with the numbers against them, Hank and Tank could not stand against the force of Tyson, Tyreek, and Wes Lee. It was just too much for them. And picking up the win here. I do want to say that Tyreek got the pin. I always like to mention that when it's 6-man tag, because I always find it interesting when it's booked that way, who gets the pin there. So good for Tyreek. Tyson and Tyreek are frighteningly large. And I don't want this pairing with Wesley to be a long-term thing. I don't want Wes to, kind of. I don't think he needs heavies necessarily, but short-term, I dig this. It's going to help everybody elevate a little bit. Make Wesley a little scarier, having a couple of heavies with him, and being affiliated with Wesley is just going to raise Tyson and Tyreek's boat for sure. So, fantastic. But too sad to wrestle was Andre Chase. So we'll see what happens with Andre. We'll have a little more for Andre here tonight. But backstage we had Ashante, the Adonis, and he was leaving a voicemail on Carmen Petrovic's phone saying that if he couldn't spend New Year's Eve with her, he'd rather spend it alone. And he hung up the phone right as Nikita Lyons stumbled into the scene, being very loud. Quite frankly, I think she was trying to be overheard on the phone, trying to screw things up for Carmen Petrovic and Ashante. But she attempted to get Ashante the Adonis to go out with her for the night. Said she had some parties she was going to, but he wasn't feeling that. And he's really
Foolish
into
man.
Carmen, guys. He's staying strong. He's turning over a new leaf.
He
He's
came to
dressing
this
like
place. He
he's
came to this
dressed.
place.
He's dressed like Parappa the Rappa, and he is a
Oh
good
no.
man now.
What is Carmen Petrovic hiding under that sword? That Ashanti they came here and he's getting everything he wanted from day one, but he has turned it down. He doesn't want any of this. Interesting
I don't know.
character arc here. I would like CJ to have seen Ashanti now.
Yeah, yeah. Um, I don't know. I don't know Ashanti the Adonis's personal politics. Maybe it comes down to something like that.
He's just like, I'm not into thick women. Oh, oh.
Oh, oh, Jesus Christ. Heel, ultimate heel at that point. Lordy. But the scene moved from there to Izzy Dame, who was walking backstage, and Sean Spears again trying to ambush her like a fucking episode of Cheaters or something, like Joey Greco. That's a dated, because all my references are dated. I'm 39. I'm sorry. Um, but he is just desperately trying to talk to her, and she told him to leave her alone, which she has done repeatedly. And the D'Angelo family showed up and said, "Hey, leave the lady alone." Hey, bada boom. Uh, and it's cool that the mafia is defending people now. That's an interesting take on the mob. No one talks about all the good deeds and nice things that they do, and all the defense that they uphold, and all the virtue. Right? They didn't show this part on The Sopranos. Um, but yeah, so there was a bit of John back and forth, and yeah, so it looks like Tony D'Angelo wants Channing Stacks Lorenzo, which I almost say Stacks Tatum every time. But he wants him to handle the Spear situation. So I'm sure that eventually this is going to, lead to Tony having to handle everything. But we'll see. We'll see where this goes. But saying in the backstage area, we had Andre Chase walking alone, sad, dejected, crestfallen. I didn't bust out the thesaurus, guys, so it's all just off the top of the head. But he was approached by Kale Dixon. And Kale Dixon, I recognized. I had a little bit of a pop myself for this as someone who was a fan of NXT Level Up, which is no more. It's being axed. It was axed. It's over for WWE LFG. Launching soon. But Kale Dixon, so Kale Dixon gets some time here on NXT proper, and he asked Mr. Chase when the next semester was starting. And Chase said Chase U was dead. And he called, "Hey, Mr. Chase," as, he left him. And Cal Dixon was left there, confused, actually, and kind of hopeful. So maybe there's some hope for Andre Chase as an instructor here. So, guys, after that, our main event segment here, we had the Male Superstar of the Year award. Mike Rome was in ring, ready to present the award. The award, well, it officially did end up going to this person, according to the Twitters on NXT. But Obafemi made his way out to the ring and grabbed the award from Mike Rome and said, "It does not matter who the superstar of the year is. These are just, affectations, and these don't matter. What does matter is that next week." Obafemi will be winning the NXT Championship at New Year's Evil. And he was interrupted by Trick Williams here. And Trick Williams was a little upset that Oba was downplaying accolades from the crowd. He's been a recipient of accolades from the crowd, and that's helped him in his career. But the two had a back and forth for a few moments, and then Eddie Thorpe shows up and just lays them out, breaking the male superstar of the year award over them, leaving them laying and holding the NXT championship high ahead of that triple threat next week. Obafemi, Eddie Thorpe, NXT champion Trick Williams, triple threat for the championship. It's going to be a hell of a show next week, guys. Hell of a show. But that is NXT in a nutshell tonight. And as I said, Obafemi was, according to NXT's official Twitter, the superstar of the year for them. So congrats to Obafemi again. Makes complete sense. Obafemi has had one hell of a year. And he'll be probably main roster sooner than I think he will be, or sooner than I would necessarily want him to be. But yeah. But hey, that's going to take us into tonight's NXT Jobber of the Night for New Year's Eve, December 31st, 2024. And y'all, my Jobber of the Night, it's someone I love on the NXT roster. I respect the man. I want him to do well. I need him to do well and pick himself up. And it's Andre Chase. Andre Chase is my Jobber of the Night. Too sad to wrestle. Y'all could have won that. The crowd was with you. You were on fire. You were feeling it. Starting to pick yourself up, and then just you dropped out, Andre, with your Bieber haircut. Again, kind of a dated reference, but yeah, too sad to wrestle, and you're just refusing to stand up and hold your calling high, which is to educate the wrestling masses. So, come on, Andre. Come on. Do better. But from there, we are going to go into the megastar of the night, happier place here. And my megastar of the night, I actually have a couple, for a couple different reasons. Firstly, Obafemi. Again, he is the male superstar of the year, unquestionably. He's had one of the best years in NXT history, from the men's breakout tournament to the North American Championship to winning the Iron Survivor, to winning this accolade in the Superstar of the Year, and to, in all likelihood, next week winning the NXT Championship. An amazing calendar year, and he's so young and he's already so good. So Obafemi, megastar of the night, megastar of the year, really. And then I also want to give mention to Ethan Page for this new vicious, brutal rendition inside to All Ego. I'm absolutely loving it. I think this is something his character needed. I a couple weeks ago said I didn't think there was much left for him to do in NXT, or much left for him to kind of accomplish or evolve into. I was wrong. He had another facet to show and grow here, and hell yeah, I'm glad they did this, because now this is something that when he is on the main roster, well, yes, he is swarmy and holds himself in a Nick Bockwinkel sort of way. He can go ultra violent, and he can go to those depths. So fantastic showing for him the last couple weeks as well. But Ethan Page and Obafemi, my megastars of the night. And again, Obafemi possibly megastar of the year. But yeah, guys, That's NXT on New Year's Eve. Had a fantastic time breaking down the show for you guys tonight. And if you had a good time watching it, I've got some fantastic news for you. We just don't cover NXT on New Year's Eve. That'd be really weird and really specific if that was all we ever did. We're here every night of the week. We're here Monday nights breaking down Raw for you. Obviously here on Tuesday nights for NXT. Wednesday nights, you know what that means. It's AEW Dynamite. Thursday nights for TNA Impact. And of course, Friday nights were made for SmackDown. And if you're up late on Wednesdays, be sure to tune in to the Dirt Sheet Radio flagship podcast. It's super late, but you can listen to it early in the morning too if you want, like I do. It'll be there with your morning coffee and your morning commute. So check it out that way if you have to. And on Sundays, guys, the 3NT crew every single week breaking down the best in pro wrestling. Check them out, guys. It is a fantastic show. Lots of fun. Great interviews. Wonderful, wonderful content. And CJ and I, we're back in the new year, y'all. CJ and Tyler's Weekend Wrestling Roundup, and then it's Roundup with a W. That might be confusing, but that's what we're going with, and it's too late to redo that. Actually, that's not true. I could. I like the W Roundup thing. But yeah, so we are looking forward to chatting about professional wrestling and get to have a Sunday show again together. We're just doing it, guys. We're happy to be bringing that back for you. But guys, I am Tyler, the Pro Wrestling Hipster. I gotta grab Molly. It's New Year's Eve, and I'd be remiss if she wasn't on the show before we went. But please give me a follow over at on the Facebooks at the Pro Wrestling Hipster. But after you've given Dirt Sheet Radio a follow on all of their social media platforms, it's okay, Molly. I woke you up. I'm sorry. But guys, thank you so much for tuning in tonight. On behalf of myself, the Pro Wrestling Hipster, and all of Dirt Sheet Radio, Happy New Year tonight, guys. Have a wonderful night tonight. Be safe out there. And Dirt Sheet Radio will be back live tomorrow night for AEW Dynamite. Have a good night, everybody. Thank you. Thank you for tuning in, guys. Good night.